Kickoff is only a few hours away, and we need to get you ready with your studs that you need to get into your lineup this weekend for DraftKings. These are going to be those high-priced guys over $6,000 that you can confidently put into your lineup, and they're not going to end up with those little snowflakes. But I know you're in a hurry, so let's save some time and get into it.
This is Allaqcess, your home for fantasy sports talk.
This is the video where we're going to give you 7 to 10 guys that we absolutely love. We're going to pull up the DraftKings sheet, and we're going to go through some of these players that I absolutely love this week, and even a couple that I might be fading, possibly including the cover boy. By the way, I can't actually remember if I introduced myself, so if I haven't, I'm Bradley with Allaqcess Sports, and if you've been here before, give a thumbs up to the video. You know it creates good luck. Good things happen to good people. When you're dropping a good luck on this video, the DraftKings gods are looking after you. As I mentioned, we're doing things a little bit differently. We're going to kind of go through a couple of these key positions and some of these studs that we're going to be looking at. And now I know you probably want to hear about it. You probably want to talk about it. Josh Allen. I hate when people say, hey, what if they get ahead too early? What if they score 5 touchdowns in the first half? Josh Allen still scored 5 touchdowns. I don't see the problem. I don't understand why people are complaining about that. Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs is one of my favorite stacks of the entire day as a short 2-man stack, as well as Tom Brady and Mike Evans. If you follow us on Patreon and you support us over there, by the way, thank you for those of you that do. That really does mean a lot. You'll see that this Bills 2-man stack is in one of the lineups that I gave you. I really like the Jalen Hurts play this week against Arizona. Arizona looked good defensively against the Carolina Panthers last week, but hey, who doesn't? Arizona Cardinals don't generate a lot of pressure. They got a lot of sacks last week. Again, that's just because it's the Carolina Panthers. They don't generate a lot of pressure. I think Jalen Hurts has himself a really good game. I'm not really interested in Kyler Murray. Yes, he has that rushing upside, but the Philadelphia Eagles are the real deal. Justin Herbert, I am interested in. He's getting healthy. His wide receivers are playing very well. It does look like they still have some injury issues, so make sure you're paying attention to Keenan Allen and Joshua Palmer information. Darnold Palmer, by the way, he's also out of that one. Matthew Stafford, I regretfully drafted him in a lot of my fantasy football lineups. Why? Because he hasn't been great this year. 8, 10, 20, 10. That's what we're looking at with Matthew Stafford, and that's probably going to be the main thing. Everyone knows that he's only targeting Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee right now, and that's where the defenses are going to focus. The Dallas Cowboys, if they have Diggs lined up against Cooper Kupp for the most part, I don't know how well that's going to be for Cooper. They're very aggressive defensively, but that offensive line of the LA Rams has been terrible. I look for the defensive front of the Cowboys to really mess with Matthew Stafford. I'm thinking there's going to be a couple picks. Although I might be interested in Kupp, not so much Matthew Stafford. Kirk Cousins against the Chicago Bears, potentially interested in that. Not a whole lot. Jared Goff, yeah, I think against New England, even with his limited weapons that he has, Jared Goff still has the opportunity for a good game. Tom Brady, I absolutely love against the Atlanta Falcons. You look at this matchup, they're 25th in the league in pass yards allowed per game. Rush yards, they're going to be worried about Leonard Fournette in this one as well, giving up the 27th most. Just bottom 10 in every statistical category for our defense in the Atlanta Falcons. I'm very interested in Tom Brady. And real quick, we're just going to jump ahead to Mike Evans. Mike Evans, who's not even in the top 10 of most expensive wide receivers at $6,900. You click him, you see what you get. First game, 18 points. Second game, he was kicked out of. Don't let that 9 points fool you. Third game, 33, and that's when he had his full slate of weapons. So that was with Chris Godwin getting 10 targets. That was with Julio Jones getting some targets. That was with some of the tight ends getting targets because Tom Brady threw it 52 times last game. I'm comfortable still putting Mike Evans in there. He still gets a ton of volume, especially when you compare it to the wide receivers that are around him. Mike Williams, you know it, I know it. It's a freaking roller coaster ride with him. Keenan Allen's out, and Jalen Waddle's dealing with a couple of issues, and a backup quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, who's still very good. DK Metcalf has had some good games. Marquise Brown, if you're interested in him, go for it. He's had a good game, or a good season, I should say, with 14, 12, 31 was the big one against the LA Rams. If you're looking the way of Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb, yes, it's Cooper Rush, but I don't care. Cooper Rush has been good enough to get the job done. All right, before we get too far out of hand, let's talk about the quarterbacks that I like that are over $6,000. All right, Josh Allen, love him. Jalen Hurts, like him. Tom Brady, because of the price point, I absolutely love him because I can also pair him with some of his wide receivers and save a significant amount of cash. And lastly, it falls below $6,000, but Trevor Lawrence at $5,600. Houston's going to want to stop the run with James Robinson. I think Trevor Lawrence doesn't throw a ton, but he does throw efficiently. Running backs. Let's start with the hometown kid and Christian McCaffrey back here. fading. Derrick Henry, I would have some interest in, $8,200. I'm not sure if I can fit in a lot of these running backs this week because there's a lot of high-end wide receivers that I really, really love. If there is one that I pay up for, it's going to be Nick Chubb. Some of the early voters down below, don't forget, in our sleepers video, we're always giving you a chance at a Millionaire Maker ticket funded by Allaqcess. Austin Eckler was one of the first and probably most common answers that we got for highest scorer of the week. I don't know if I buy into it right now. Cleveland, I believe they get Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett back, so up front, they're going to be a little bit more stout. I like Justin Herbert and the wide receivers more than Austin Eckler. Dalvin Cook is an interesting play if you want to pay up for him. I don't have a huge amount of love for him with his ceiling so far being 14.6 points. Not great when I'm looking at wanting to get 4 or 5 times my value. So if he's $7,000 and I'm only getting 14 points, that's 2 times his value. I'm not super interested in it. And rush yards per game, they are at the bottom of the league. So there is the potential that he could have his one big week this week. Talked about Leonard Fournette. DeAndre Swift is out. I'm sure Jamal Williams is going to be another big play. Miles Sanders against Arizona. Interested, don't really love. James Robinson is probably going to be the most popular pick of the week because he's against the 32nd rushing defense in the league at only $6,300. Yes, he splits time with Travis Etienne, but he is the primary ball carrier, especially when they're ahead. And I think they're going to be playing from ahead a lot in this one. David Montgomery is something you have to watch, him and Khalil Herbert. David Montgomery could play. It's probably going to be a 50-50 split. If it was 100% Khalil Herbert, I would absolutely smash this play against Minnesota Vikings. If it was 100% Montgomery, I would smash this play against the Minnesota Vikings. But because of those injuries, not sure where to go. Tony Pollard dealing with a little bit of an illness. Looks like he's going to suit up. Not necessarily a snap count, but if his stomach's still feeling a little gargly, probably not going to get that many touches. Ramondre Stevenson and Jeff Wilson, these are the two that I'm probably going to be living on the most, as well as Breece Hall, which I'm sure you have heard a lot of people talk about this week. These 3 guys, I think, is where I'm going to be living on most of my larger tournament plays. Ramondre, Jeff Wilson, Breece Hall. Some people want to talk about Raheem Mostert. Yeah, sure, I'm interested in that. Some people want to talk about James Robinson. Yeah, I'm absolutely interested in that. But so is 100 other people. The absolute lowest you'd probably see myself or really anyone else go is going to be Tyler Allgeier. That's a running back who's probably going to be starting in place of Cordero Patterson, who is going to be missing this game. Let's go ahead and find Atlanta. Cordero Patterson's out. Damian Williams is out. That's going to leave Allgeier and Huntley to be your 2 primary carriers. My only issue with this is Tampa Bay is very stout against the run. We've seen it last year. We've seen it this year. They don't allow very many 100-yard rushers. They're probably going to put up a lot of points. I'm not sure how well game script plays out for Atlanta Falcons to run the ball, even though they are very adamant about being able to do it. Now we move over to the wide receivers. And the wide receivers, I think you're going to have to pay up for a couple of these guys. Some of these high-priced guys are absolutely worth the money. Cooper Kupp, we know he's a ball hog. I don't really need to say much about it. Justin Jefferson should be in line for a very good game. Looking at the Chicago Bears defense, they're a very slow-paced team. I'm not sure how many plays the Minnesota Vikings are going to be able to get on offense, so that could limit his opportunity. Stephon Diggs and this Buffalo Bills offense are going to be able to run the ball up and down the field against this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And by run the ball, I mean just move the ball efficiently, not necessarily run it with Devin Singletary. He's coming off of his worst game of the year, but he does have games with targets of 15 and 11. Less than Tyler Higbee, keep that in mind. But last week, he only had 4 receptions on 6 targets, still put up 62 yards, did not find the end zone. I think he's more in this range against the LA Rams than he is in the range of the Baltimore and Miami games. I think he does get a touchdown against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, who hasn't been very good this year. They have trouble applying pressure. Josh Allen's going to have time to let him get down the field, as well as they are dealing with a couple of injuries, so he's going to go back to what's comfortable. Dawson Knox, Gabriel Davis, Stephon Diggs. Tyreek Hill, I like, don't love. Deebo Samuel against the Carolina Panthers. I don't really love that passing game with Jimmy Garoppolo at this point. I think they're just able to run the ball at free will against the Carolina Panthers. So Jeff Wilson, I'm more interested in. Amon-Ra St. Brown, as long as he's healthy, I don't mind putting him in there. I know New England wants to be a pounded-out, physical-style team, but Detroit, #1 offense, dead last defense, points are going to be had in this game, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's going to have to do something. If the Detroit Lions want to win, he is going to have to do something. The guy that I'm primarily focused on is going to be right here in Mike Evans. We already talked about him for a little bit. I love Mike Evans, especially at less than $7,000. He's, wide receiver 11th on the board right now in terms of price. But in value, I think he's got to be near the top. At $7,000, if I'm getting 24 to 28 points, I am more than happy with that. He did that last week, and he was on his way week 1. Week 2, obviously, cut short, left before halftime at 9 points. If you look at that over the span of the entire game, could have been an 18-point game. So his floor thus far, 18 points. Ceiling, I guess you want to call it that, is 33 points. There's no reason he shouldn't be able to reach that. There is a slight issue that they get ahead early, but I've said it before. If they've scored 6 touchdowns before halftime and they're absolutely smacking the Atlanta Falcons, they have still scored 6 touchdowns. I don't think Christian Kirk is getting enough love this week. Maybe it's just his price point. People are more interested in Gabriel Davis, as well as Brandon Cooks and Amari Cooper to have a bounce-back week. But I think Christian Kirk is in a really good spot against the Houston Texans defense that has given up big weeks to wide receiver ones. Michael Pittman Jr. had his best game of the season against them. Cortland Sutton, I believe, had his best game of the season against the Houston Texans. Darnell Mooney, in one of the poorest offenses in the league, even he saw the most targets that he's seen all season in a game against the Houston Texans. And then Mike Williams, who, yes, he is a very good wide receiver. He saw the most targets that he was able to see all season against this Houston Texans defense. Give me anybody that's wide receiver 1 playing against the Houston Texans, Christian Kirk. I'm locking him in this week. Now, if you take some of the players that we've talked about and include some of those people in our sleeper videos, I actually don't hate this lineup. Tom Brady, Jeff Wilson Jr., James Robinson in a very smash home run spot against the Houston Texans defense that's just not very good. Mike Evans, I don't love putting a wide receiver and running back from the same game, but Christian Kirk, I think, is also in a very good position. If you want to pull out James Robinson, look the way of Ramondre Stevenson in that same similar price roll, or even Breece Hall. Khalil Shakir, yes, I'm reaching way down, but it's because I want to fit in Stephon Diggs, or at least get someone from this Bills offense into my lineup. Tyler Higbee should be in a really good spot. Maybe you want to pay up and go after TJ Hawkinson against the New England Patriots. And then finally, yes, I just want a cheap defense. So give me the Panthers, give me the Lions, give me the Seahawks. But if I do want to absolutely pay up for a defense, my favorite's probably going to be the Miami Dolphins or the Buffalo Bills. That's going to do it for this video. I hope you like this style. I know I ran through a lot. We did have a little bit of things happen in here in the middle of me in this video, so hopefully you didn't notice. But I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. Go out and check out that Sleepers video. Hit the like for good luck, and best of luck to you this week. Go out and win $1 million and beat those guys that are entering in 150 lineups, please.